Our hero was raised in the mountains and was now heading to the city. This was because he found out he had 7 older sisters waiting for him. And since the boy was in the prime of his youth, he got very excited. His eyes sparkled at the thought of this idea. In his imagination, he pictured all his sisters as beautiful. This happened because he was an orphan and was raised by masters in a sect in the mountains. And when he found out about his other sisters from the sect, he immediately fell in love with the idea. That's why he rushed to the city in search of them. You'll see how awesome this protagonist is. And to get to the moment where he meets his waifus, we need to learn more about his journey. The story begins with the old master sending him away. Frederico, which is the name of our hero, didn't want to leave the mountain because he was worried about the masters. However, they all hid to pretend they no longer cared for him. And our hero knew the masters were doing this. We see those who had taken in little Frederico, and they comment that the boy was very well trained. Now he would have to embark on this new journey and live on his own. Fred knew his masters were hiding because they didn't want to say goodbye to him, and the sect members even slammed the door, putting on a show so Fred wouldn't suffer from leaving them. He gives an awkward laugh, saying he knows their plan. Then our hero kneels and thanks them for all these years, as he was an orphan and was taken in by the sect. Later he arrives at the city station, having never left that mountain before. He couldn't imagine what the people in the big city would be like. At that moment he notices a very beautiful girl, and I can't stop staring at her. You already know very well where he's looking, and this ends up making the girl uncomfortable, asking if he's never seen large melons before. He says her meridians are blocked due to excessive weight, and this will cause complications. The girl wonders how he knew she had problems. We already see here that our hero's training was impressive, and Frederico wasn't just any man. And so he continues his journey. Since the trip was a bit long, he ended up staying in a room on the train. He remembers that his master had given him some tips on how to meet his martial sisters. When he arrived in the city, he would meet the 7th sister. Upon receiving an amulet, he should show it to the girl, and before leaving, the master warns him about the adult book they found under his bed. Of course, he wouldn't want anyone to see that and makes it an excuse, saying it was classic literature. However, his master says the martial sisters are much more beautiful than the girls in that book. And of course, Frederico isn't foolish and starts imagining things. It was thanks to his fertile imagination that he became super motivated to find them. For a moment he thought it was all a lie, but now he was starting to believe. It would be amazing to have martial sisters, and he even comments about the money he received. All that money was to be spent until we found the 7th oldest sister. Very curious, he opens the envelope to check how much was inside. There was about 500, and he gets excited, saying he only spent 20 per month in the mountains. At that moment he hears a voice from the other side of the door, and a very beautiful girl appears, saying they will be travel companions. The smelly Frederico immediately falls in love, thinking all the women in the city are this beautiful. If he came to my city, he'd be disappointed, and return to the mountains in less than 30 minutes. Don't ask where I live because you'll regret it. He even starts imagining in his head that this could be a romantic encounter, but to ruin everything, the girl's grandfather was with her, and he makes this sour onion face. The old man greets the boy, and he immediately notices that the elder is having trouble breathing. Frederico makes a comment about the old man's heart problems. That sounded a bit rude, and Rosina starts getting angry with our hero. However, the old man knew this boy was different, so our hero covers it up, saying he was just imagining things. A few minutes pass and the girl says she's going to lie down on the top bunk, and since Fred isn't foolish, he immediately starts observing the scene, but at that moment, the old man feels a sharp pain in his chest. He starts coughing as if it's something very serious. The one with pink hair comes down the stairs and asks if her grandfather wants some water. After laying him down on the bed, she says she'll go get help. Desperate, the girl calls a staff member and asks her to fetch a doctor. That girl was from the Yu family, a very important family. That's why the staff member runs off to get help, as the old man was very rich. Even in these stories, the life of a rich man is worth more than us mere mortals. The girl runs to her grandfather, trying to comfort him, very worried. Our hero, having ancient training, knew what needed to be done. However, he was warned by his masters not to get too involved with the women in the city. The old man continues coughing heavily. However, Frederico also learned that he should help people. Catching her attention, he said he could help her. But at that moment, an arrogant doctor enters the room. Rosina becomes very hopeful, expecting treatment for her grandfather. This useless doctor asks about the patient's condition. Since the girl isn't a doctor or anything, she says she doesn't know much, but her grandfather fainted. In reality, this guy should be checking the patient's condition, not asking others what's wrong with the old man. After looking around, the doctor says you can't make a diagnosis just with words. The girl gets worried and starts asking what needs to be done to save her grandfather's life. The girl asks how she's supposed to get a test, when he just got sick less than 3 minutes ago. But this slimy doctor keeps saying nothing can be done without a detailed analysis. He even says that he's the director of the district hospital to show that he has credibility. At that moment, the old man starts coughing even more, and his face turns purple. Fred knows the old man's symptoms are worsening and that he won't last long, and the girl insists that the doctor save her grandfather. So this jerk of a doctor leaves, saying he can't do anything. When he steps outside, the staff member explains who the old man is. She says that's Mr. Yu. This leaves the four-eyed doctor completely shocked. He asks if the woman is sure, and she says yes, and that they are very rich. So the shameless guy goes back inside the room, saying he'll make a good impression. What he really wanted was to pretend he'd save the old man and says he'll perform first aid. He climbs under the bed and starts doing chest compressions. Since our hero is skilled in Chinese medicine, he knew that would make things worse. So he asked the doctor not to do that, otherwise the old man would lose his life. The blockhead asks who this boy is to challenge his methods. He even asks which hospital the boy works at, trying to humiliate him. Very humbly, Fred says he's just a student of Chinese medicine. But since this is somewhat taboo in China, and people don't take it seriously, the doctor starts mocking him. Trying to belittle the boy, he says that he has over 10 years of experience as a doctor. However, Fred says if he continues with those chest compressions, the old man will die. At that moment, the doctor realizes the boy is right, but he can't just stand there doing nothing, as he wants to make a good impression on the Yu family. So he goes to the pink-haired girl and tells her not to worry, as he'll save her grandfather. What he really wanted was to pretend he was doing something so that, in the end, the Yu family would owe him. When he mentions saving Mr. Yu, the girl wonders how the doctor knew her surname. And since she isn't foolish, she starts connecting the dots and imagines the staff member told the doctor that boy didn't know who they were, and yet he still wanted to help. She also remembers that about 15 minutes ago he had said her grandfather had heart problems. That's why she goes to the doctor and tells him to wait. Then she turns to our protagonist to ask for his help. The girl asks if what he said earlier about her grandfather's illness was true. Federico is startled and says he could help with traditional Chinese medicine, and now he's the one mocking the doctor, saying traditional methods are better than modern medicine. For those who watch Karate Kid, you know very well that Chinese medicine is powerful. With tears in her eyes, she asks if the boy could save her grandfather. He tells her not to worry, as it's just a heart function issue, and he can save him. Full of hope, she asks if he can do it. However, the doctor doesn't want to lose credit and starts saying Chinese medicine is dangerous. She calls out this shameless guy, saying he's being arrogant, but after the staff member explained who they were, the doctor came running back with his tail between his legs. The girl turns back to our hero, and since she's very beautiful, there's no way our protagonist could refuse her request to save the old man. If a girl like this asked you for something, I'm sure you'd do anything. The boy wanted to help and was just waiting for her to ask. He found out she was someone important and probably very rich, but he wasn't interested in that. The only thing he wanted was to help a beautiful girl. Cracking his knuckles, he says he'll do his best. So that worm keeps annoying everyone, saying Chinese medicine doesn't work, but neither Federico nor the pink-haired girl paid him any attention. That way, he takes up the needles he used in the mountains from his backpack. He explains that these needles will help, and that he practiced on some wild boars. Of course, this seemed a bit scary, and the doctor starts losing faith. What he really wanted was for the boy to fail so he could step in and help. After tearing the old man's shirt, he prepares to place the needles. After finding the pressure points, he starts placing them in the correct spots, and within moments, he places all the needles and finally finishes with the last one. This generates a very bright light, and soon after, the old man wakes up coughing. That cough causes some red liquid to come out. Everyone is shocked because it worked and the old man regained consciousness. However, the doctor thinks it went wrong because a lot of red liquid came out, but that was necessary, and our hero turns around giving a wink as a taunt. The doctor realizes that this boy is actually impressive and is shocked. When he looks at the old man, he's even more surprised. The old man had really woken up and was conscious. The boy explains that the old man had vomited a clot and is now fine. The old man thanks Federico, calling him Little Master. Then he asks who these people are. The woman introduces herself as the ticket collector who called the doctor, and this onion-faced guy says he's the one who helped the old man recover. The old man is surprised, asking if it was really this doctor who cured him. But since he isn't foolish either, he asks why it was that boy who placed the needles. This puts the doctor in a tough spot, and he starts stuttering, trying to come up with an excuse. The doctor even says the old man needs to be hospitalized, and he asks the boy if that's true. This makes the shameless guy angry because the old man was trusting the boy without information more than him, a hospital director. Federico says the old man doesn't need to be hospitalized, and he ends up telling the doctor that he appreciates the invitation but won't go to the hospital. The ticket collector tells the four-eyed guy to leave, and he gets all worked up, throwing a tantrum since this was the opportunity of a lifetime to become a millionaire. Fred tells the old man he'll place one more needle to finish the treatment, and the old man says it's okay. However, our hero is so fast that the old man didn't even feel it, and the old man asks if it's already done. This leaves the old man very impressed, and he even starts wondering where this boy came from. He turns to his granddaughter and asks her to give the boy a card and invite him to dinner. In a cute way, she thanks her little brother by handing him a card. He even thinks she might be one of his martial sisters, but if she were, he would have recognized her. So Fred thanks them for the dinner invitation, as food's never too much. The girl starts laughing because his accent is a bit different since he lived in the mountains. To ruin the moment of relaxation, that doctor arrives saying he's going to call the police. He says it's a crime to practice medicine without a license. Confidently, our hero says the police will arrest the doctor because he's a criminal, and they start insulting each other, and the doctor calls the police. Coincidentally, at that moment, the train starts braking. The loudspeaker tells passengers not to worry, as it's a temporary stop. A police officer appears saying it's a routine inspection. That shameless doctor says this punk was practicing medicine without a license. When looking at this doctor, one of the officers recognizes him. The authority says justice is being served for non-bailable crimes, and they immediately handcuff him. They were doing this because the hospital he had directed was selling illegal drugs, and that way he's taken away, and our protagonist says he was lucky to guess the doctor was a criminal. The pink-haired girl asks how Federico did that, figuring out the doctor would be arrested. He says you just guessed. Of course, the boy wouldn't say he was trained by masters with special abilities, and that's why he could sense people's energy. So the girl becomes very interested in getting to know our hero better, and asks if he could give her some future advice. The old man realizes the boy is mysterious but polite, and humble. Fred's heart starts beating faster because the girl is beautiful and smells nice. He even thanks the masters, saying the girls in the city are much better than the ones in the books. Fred tells her to stay away from people dressed in green. But the girl isn't satisfied with that, and keeps asking him for more advice. If I were him, I'd already advise her to give me a kiss. But the boy just says he can't give any more tips. And only now do we discover Rosina's name. She's called Alice, and the old man tells her not to bother the young master. The old man asks if he needs to take medicine, and our hero says he'll write him a prescription. This leaves the old man even more shocked, as our protagonist had an answer for everything. So he starts rummaging through his backpack to get something. He pulls out a feather pen, and this leaves Alice shocked because someone still uses brushes in the 21st century. The brushes weren't enough, and he also pulls out 2 ancient Egyptian papyri to write the medicine prescription. After writing, he says he keeps the tradition of using a brush, because that's how he learned. And he even says if everyone used pens or pencils, traditions would be lost. Seeing that he's a unique boy, her little heart starts beating faster. Soon after, he hands the prescription to the old man, telling him to take the medicine for 3 months. And he even says this illness is hereditary, leaving the old man even more surprised. To avoid explaining that he had martial training, he says he just deduced it based on the type of illness. Imagine him having to explain that at the top of the mountain there's a martial arts sect with superpowers. Of course, he didn't want to go through all that trouble. The old man asks if there's really someone with such knowledge. All these years he's had chest pains like his father and a grandfather, and that's why he strongly believes in this young master's words. So he thanks him, saying his family will be in debt to him. But Fred tells the old man not to worry and wishes him a speedy recovery. Soon after, he asks the girl to retrieve the card she had given to Fred. That way, with flushed cheeks, she asks him to return the card. This leaves our protagonist a bit confused, but without complaining he ends up returning it. She goes to her grandfather and hands him the card. Then the old man says that card had his contact, but the boy should have his granddaughter's contact. You already know what's happening, right? The old man is playing Cupid. The girl takes her phone out of her pocket to add him on WhatsApp. She asks him to scan her QR code, but since he's from the mountains, he doesn't know what WhatsApp is, much less this so-called code. She tries to explain with all the patience in the world. Then he pulls out a flip phone from his pocket. For sure, 90% of you didn't even know phones like this existed, and the girl is confused. He says that even though his phone is old, he can still use the internet and access news. She isn't sure if WhatsApp works on that thing and feels a bit awkward. Then he remembers when he received this phone as a gift from his master, and it was a really fun day. Until then, he could only use calculators, and when he tells these stories, the two of them don't understand anything. The old man tells Alice not to confuse the boy, and just exchange phone numbers. That way they save each other's contacts. She feels a little embarrassed and says she now has his number saved on her phone, and the girl even says she'll invite him to dinner when they arrive in the city. She wants him to try the fried chicken from her favorite restaurant. With his eyes shining, Fred says he really wants to try it too. The old man is already excited, seeing his granddaughter flirting with a boy with superpowers. He even mentions that the Wang family has their eyes on his daughter for marriage to strengthen the clans, but the old man doesn't really want his granddaughter to marry into that family. When he looks at the old man, Fred notices he's worried. The boy asks the old man what's troubling him so much, but the old man says it's just a silly matter and that it was great to meet the young man today. Federico is very good with words and says the old man looks healthy and radiant, and this already makes the old man very happy. Soon after, he thanks the little young master, and before leaving he warns Alice to be careful with people wearing green clothes, as a disaster could happen. She isn't really believing it, and asks if he's sure about this prediction. Moments later, they arrive in the city and stop right at the station. He asks if she's carrying cement in that suitcase, but the girl says it's just some basic things, typical of a woman. People are shocked that he can carry such a big suitcase and start commenting. Alice says her friend will be arriving to pick them up, and her name is Ayara. At that moment, the girl arrives, drifting with her car. From inside comes a beautiful redhead, but with a green dress. This was Ayara, Alice's best friend. And when she notices that the woman was wearing a green dress, she becomes a bit discouraged. She asks Federico if there was any way to resolve this. He asks if, as Alice's friend, she would be willing to change out of the dress, and this leaves them embarrassed. Alice even asks if it was really necessary to make her take off that dress, and our hero said yes, to avoid a catastrophe. So Alice asks if it was just a matter of putting on another outfit, and he says yes. This makes Ayara a bit jealous, and she even wonders why her friend is so close to a boy. Then you come running, saying you have something important to tell Ayara. What the redhead wanted to say was for Alice doesn't not to trust men, but Alice speaks first, saying that Ayara needs to change her clothes. This leaves her a bit embarrassed, not understanding the reason. Alice mentions that she knows her friend has several nice outfits in the car, and just needs to change. It was true, but it was very strange for someone to say that. Since she trusted her friend very much, she said it was okay to change, and Alice starts celebrating because everything would be resolved smoothly. And so they get in the car. The redhead asks Alice about her relationship with that boy. She says they just met. But Ayara doesn't believe it much because they seem very close. When they look outside to gossip about the boy, he's no longer there. The redhead even wonders what happened to him. Alice mentions that they met on the train and her grandfather spoke highly of him. Then Ayara tells her friend not to trust men because they seem nice but are all bad. Alice is already missing him and starts wondering why he left without saying goodbye. In fact, Federico didn't want to bother them. and it was inappropriate to see a girl change clothes. So he immediately turns on the GPS, looking for the apartment his master had rented. A taxi driver appears, asking if he is new to the city and if he needs his service. Fred says his destination is only 14 kilometers away. He even tells the boy to get in the car because 14 kilometers is too far. But Fred says he doesn't need a taxi to go to a place so close. The taxi driver asks if he's going to run there, and that's exactly what our protagonist was going to do. He says that in the mountains he would run 20 kilometers and not even sweat, and as he stretches he starts running like crazy. The crazy one was very tough and leaves the dust behind, and the taxi driver wonders if the boy is a mutant. In this way he runs through the whole city, causing strong winds. It looked like the Flash from Dandadan, and so he arrives in the residential area. Even though he had never been around the city, he knew how to get around very well, and quickly finds the apartment. That was the Redwood residence, and an elderly couple confirms the name of the place. The old man still says these apartments are very old, but the boy doesn't care, he just wants to meet his martial sisters. And the elderly couple keeps saying that young people these days are leaving home too early to work, and they mention that this neighborhood is far from the industries. But our protagonist didn't come to work at all. He came to try to get a girl. He remembers what his master said when he mentioned that the rent included Wi-Fi, and he gets excited because the internet in the mountains was very slow. His master had said the Wi-Fi internet was 2 megabytes, and that was a lot. Little does he know how 5 megabyte internet is here in my city, and it's top notch. I doubt you have faster internet than mine. Here it doesn't even take 12 hours to upload a video to YouTube. If you want to know the name of my internet provider to get one just like it, ask in the comments and I'll respond. And so he goes up all happy, imagining he'll be in paradise. After confirming the room number, he prepares to knock. At that moment, a very beautiful woman named Diana emerges. This woman is incredibly gorgeous, and our protagonist can't stop admiring the scenery. With flushed cheeks, he asks if this is the house he rented, and introduces himself. She confirms it is and says she is the landlady, Diana. The seductive woman invites him in. She explains he can use the clothesline on Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday. Blushing, he stares at those clothes, feeling embarrassed. He has never seen such diversity, and she asks why he's drooling. Awkwardly, Fred says it's nothing. As he opens the bedroom door to store his backpack, he smells lavender, a scent so pleasant he could enjoy it forever. The scent comes from Diana's clothes. He feels lucky, and he hasn't even met the Marshall sisters yet. She mentions this is her room. He rushes to the other side of the apartment, trying to act casual. After entering, he locks the door. Diana is excited. She mentions she likes rustic, introverted men and finds him handsome. But then he opens the door and she's curious. He actually wanted the Wi-Fi password. She spells it out, blushing because she finds him cute. A spark ignites between them. After a few seconds of staring, he becomes even more embarrassed. He returns to his room and locks the door. Diana says it will be great sharing the apartment with him. She hadn't imagined her guest would be so handsome. At night, he lies down to rest after a long day. On the first day alone, he met 3 goddesses more interesting than those in books. Taking the amulet from his pocket, he wonders what the 7th sister will be like. He extends his hand, trying to use his future seeing power. After charging some energy, he concentrates. Despite his efforts, he can't envision the sister's appearance. All he knows is that she is a wealthy businesswoman. Just imagining her body excites him, but his master's blocked his energy to prevent him from knowing their looks. He tries hard but fails. Discovering she's a businesswoman, he searches online. Unfortunately, most businesswomen are much older. He gives up searching for the 7th sister. His stomach growls with hunger. He decides to grab a bite in the kitchen. He checks if Diana is around, feeling shy. In the kitchen, he encounters an electric stove he has never seen before. Watching some online videos, he learns how to turn it on. The flame appears like magic. He celebrates as if it were a magic trick. He boils water, cooks pasta, and adds some seasoning. Quickly, his meal is ready. His eyes gleam with hunger. After tasting it, he declares himself a great cook. As he eats, he notices the unusual silence. In the mountains, things were never this quiet. He was always surrounded by his masters and now misses that. He hears a noise at the door. It's the voices of 2 women. There stands Diana with a friend, who seems more like a wildcat. Diana's friend asks who that boy is and looks scared. He tries to explain, but the woman runs away, leaving Diana on the floor. Federico is confused as he didn't say anything and the girl fled. Seeing Diana on the floor, he wonders what happened. Using his spiritual vision, he senses something wrong. He tries to sit her up, but she's unconscious. There's an energy block in her neck, and he realizes someone has poisoned her. This seemed like something quite dangerous, and he becomes worried. Diana is gasping for breath, her heart pounding. She has a very high fever, her body shaking. After pressing some energy points on her back, she vomits. Some pills fall out. He realizes it wasn't poisoning, but an illegal drug. It was a very high dose, and the other pills had likely already been digested. With tears in her eyes, Diana, in pain, asks him to call a doctor. He says a doctor won't be able to save her, as the substance is already in her blood. She has at most 10 minutes to live. The girl is already accepting her end, but the pain is intense, and she can't hold back her screams. This happened a few hours ago when a mobster came to her bar. She didn't want to drink that wine, but he forced her. This girl had suffered a lot since birth, abandoned by her mother. Her mother was a gold digger who chased after men. Just by looking at the woman's face, our protagonist knows she's had a tough life. He decides to help her, as it's his duty to save lives. He feels her pulse and tells her not to worry, as he can help. Diana doesn't fully believe him, but has no other choice. The boy says her pulse is still clear so he can eliminate the toxin. To perform the procedure, he starts to remove her blouse. At that moment, Diana thinks all men are the same. But our protagonist means no harm. He just needs to see the energy points to place the needles. Since the toxin's advanced, needles alone won't suffice, so he grabs a scalpel. He tells her to hold on as he'll perform a small surgery. After a few seconds, he manages to eliminate the toxin and close the incision with stitches. He tells her she needs to rest it to regain her strength. With the toxin removed, she stops feeling pain. Like a true gentleman, he carries her in his arms, saying he performed a small surgery on her. The girl is smitten, thinking he is truly a man of dignity and respect. He carries her to the sofa to lie down. As he lays her down, he tells her to stay calm while he fixes some things. Her cheeks flush with relief, feeling safe now. Suddenly, someone starts banging on the door angrily. It's the voice of that friend, saying, "There's a man with Diana in the apartment." Diana says these people are the ones who poisoned her. Federico asks if she wants him to open the door. It seems her friend has brought a man with her. Diana tells him not to open it, as they are bad people. She's scared because they are very dangerous criminals. The girl had managed to open a bar near her apartment. A few hours earlier, she was there preparing to open her business, but her friend arrived with some thuggish mobsters. The man threw several bills onto the counter. Diana was already worried as these guys had a terrible reputation. He ordered the strongest drink she had, and what they wanted from Diana I can't tell you, but they were demanding something very invasive that would ruin her reputation. Her friend, who got her into this mess, whispers in her ear. She says if Diana agrees to go out with the mobster and do whatever he wants, she'll make a lot of money. But Diana is an upright woman and won't sell her body. This makes her friend angry, calling Diana a goody two-shoes. They start fighting, and the mobster watches it all. He has some pills, saying he'll put them in her drink to make Diana want him. He drops them into the glass and offers it to her, telling her to drink. Diana isn't foolish and knows something is in the drink, but she's afraid to refuse. Everyone starts pressuring her, saying if she doesn't drink, they'll destroy the bar. What she wants at this moment is to beat up her friend. Pushed to the extreme, she ends up taking the glass and drinking. Just a few minutes later, she starts feeling unwell. This is the story she tells our protagonist, who, when he notices, is devouring a watermelon. Hungry, he asks if she wants him to call the police. She says the police won't solve anything. The mobsters are too influential. The girl is still weak, her legs numb. At that moment, he appears to support her. He's the last romantic on Earth and says that he's by her side to help her with whatever she needs. Just then, the shameless ones manage to open the door and to become nervous. Poor Diana asks how they dared to come to her house. Her friend says she thought there was a criminal and called for help. He asks who this girl thinks she is to call him a criminal. She says she was just worried about her best friend. She even pretends to be innocent, calling Diana to come with her, saying this blue-haired boy isn't trustworthy. Without hesitation, Diana hugs our hero and says he is her boyfriend and that she told him what happened at the bar. Her friend says nothing happened and that they didn't poison her. The shameless mobster can't understand how Diana's still alive. Diana insists it was them who poisoned her. Our hero asks if she's sure, which she confirms. In response, Fred says he believes her and will deal with these bullies. He confronts the mobster, claiming to be Diana's boyfriend. Actually, he just wants to show confidence. And Diana wonders how this boy has such strength. He grabs the mobster's hand, who says our hero is a lucky guy. He says he'll find out who poisoned his girlfriend and make them pay. The mobster wonders what the hell this kid is talking about. Then he turns to that friend, thanking her for all the help they gave his girlfriend. The girl and the mobster start to realize this guy is faking it. But then they begin to think he's actually a weakling and scared. Fred delivers a checkmate, saying he'll go to the bar to see the camera footage. Once he finds out who poisoned his girlfriend, he'll make them pay. This makes the shameless ones nervous, as they had forgotten about the cameras. The nervous guy turns, saying he forgot he had something important to do. Actually, he's scared of our hero, calling him out. The guy turns, very nervous, telling Fred to spill it. The boy tells the mobster that real men shouldn't think only with what's below the belt. After all, they might end up in trouble. This makes the mobster angry, telling our hero to shut up. Then he leaves, very angry, planning to pay for the footage at the bar. He threatens the protagonist in his mind, saying he'll be the one to pay. He asks Diana if he should go save those recordings, but Diana says it's no use, as these mobsters have too much influence with the police. In a very calm manner, he tells Diana they should enjoy dinner. The girl says it will be great to eat someone else's cooking. A stronger bond starts to form between them as she feels safe. That shameless one really managed to access and destroy the footage. He even says there's no chance he'll be incriminated. The grumpy one tells the mobster to forget about Diana and focus on her. The guy says that's exactly what he'll do. So, the two of them leave to relieve some stress. Minutes later, he is frustrated. Now, another question, what happened and why wasn't it working? Actually, he couldn't perform and says this has never happened to him before. Then the mobster remembers what our hero said about not thinking with what's below the belt. He starts to realize it must be something that kid did. Punching the wall, he says he'll make that brat regret it. Back at Diana's apartment, they are having dinner. She says the smell is delicious. As the moment she tastes it, she feels a delicious flavor. The boy asks if it's good. She says she's never had such delicious pasta. Fred asks if her parents didn't make pasta for her. At that moment, she freezes, saying nothing. This makes him apprehensive. Diana reveals she has no family. Her father passed away long ago, and her mother abandoned her at an orphanage. He was also an orphan and asks more about her mother. She explains her mother was a gold digger, marrying men for inheritance. After her father died, her mother started dating other rich men. Fred realizes that even though his life was tough, hers was worse, but the girl tells him not to pity her, as she worked hard and opened a bar. She's independent, having fought for everything she has. Gradually, Diana becomes drowsy from the surgery. Before falling asleep, she says she's very afraid of the mobsters. He knows he must do something to protect her, as she'll never have peace. He carries her to bed, promising to protect her. Her face begins to glow. He notices this only happens in people with special energies. This golden hue with a white aura symbolizes a healing ability. He lays her down and watches her, confirming she has an exceptional body. His master said these special people were great for cultivation. But his third master warned that these women would be the most complicated. His heart races at the thought of cultivating with her, but he slaps himself, remembering he is an honorable man. He leaves, thinking about finding the seventh sister. Diana wakes up seconds later. She was only pretending to sleep. She realizes Fred is a good man, as he didn't do anything inappropriate. She falls even more in love, seeing him as a man of dignity. She indeed has a special body, already healed. However, her self-esteem is low, and she thinks she's not good enough for him. The next morning, he wakes up to the smell of coffee. Diana says that since he made dinner the night before, she wanted to surprise him. There's a table set with tea, bread, and pastries. She's eager to see him eat and asks if he likes it. Fred, always honest, says the taste is average. Diana smiles, blushing, and admits she bought it from the bakery. He is surprised she's already recovered, confirming her special body. He asks what other surprise she has prepared. She says she noticed he isn't an ordinary man. Without a doubt, he'll make a name for himself in this city and become famous. So before that happens, she wants to be his friend and offers 6 months of free rent. He is thrilled, as half a year of free rent is fantastic. He starts calculating how much money he'll save. She didn't expect him to be so happy. Once again, the shameless mobster appears, ruining the mood. He is at the door causing trouble, and Fred stands up. Diana tells him not to bother and to ignore him, but Fred knows it's because of the handshake he gave the mobster the night before. The woman asks if he poisoned the man, but it was something much worse. He admits he took away the mobster's abilities. The girl falls even more in love, realizing he did it to protect her. The shameless mobster appears, asking what Fred did to him. Our hero feigns ignorance, saying he did nothing. The mobster grabs him by the collar and starts threatening him. Fred slaps his hand away and asks if the mobster has any proof. Besides, falsely accusing someone is a crime. Seeing Fred isn't backing down, the mobster gets angrier. His henchman asks permission to beat up our hero. With a malicious look, he agrees, saying it's the right thing to do. They all attack the protagonist. However, Fred is tough. He gets into a fighting stance, ready to use his mountain techniques. Diana says she'll call the police, worried about her love. Everyone freezes. He wonders if this is really necessary, but she steps in front of him to protect him, telling the mobster to forget everything. The thug wants trouble and won't let it go. As he is about to hit the girl, our protagonist intervenes with an extremely powerful blow to the shameless man's face. The creep is thrown back, tumbling over his henchman. He lands hard on the ground. The henchmen charge at our hero, saying they will finish him, but he has many combat techniques, like the side strike, the rock punch, and the tiger fist. He easily defeats all the enemies. Diana is scared and says they are dangerous, but our protagonist says he doesn't care and will do anything to defend a friend. He walks toward the gang leader, who is trembling. He kicks him in the stomach. To humiliate him, he steps on his chest, calling him a spoiled brat. With 2 needles in hand, he says he will make him regret it. He strikes vital points. The guy starts laughing uncontrollably because of the needles. This was a punishment technique he learned from his 6th master. But then he hears Diana scream. One of the thugs has taken her hostage. He says if Fred doesn't remove the needles from his boss, he will shoot. Our protagonist tenses but removes the needles. The leader stops laughing. He doesn't know what Fred did, but it was strange. He asks what the hell our hero did to him. In response, Fred says it was just a traditional technique. The leader proposes a partnership, offering Fred a job. This is strange, as he just got beaten up and now wants to hire him. The villain explains his father runs many businesses, offering Fred money and women. But Fred says he already has a girlfriend and isn't interested. The villain says Diana's boring and he can have prettier, more fun girls. He offers different women every day. Fred slaps him, telling them to leave. The leader asks if he prefers to suffer the consequences rather than work together. They still haven't let Diana go and then start threatening her. The guys say they will take him somewhere else. Since he didn't accept the deal, he'll face the consequences. Our protagonist realizes they are leaving the apartment. These guys think they're smart but are complete idiots. The greasy bald guy keeps threatening Diana. As they descend to the building's lobby, a boy locks the door. They say now that they're in a more spacious area, it'll be easy to beat Fred. They start preparing to do something bad to Diana. The leader says Fred can't escape or hide, and will have to watch everything. But he notices our protagonist is very serious. Fred says dodging a bullet in a closed space is hard, but in an open area, it's easy. He runs like a flash of light at a high speed. His movements are so fast the bald guy can't even see him. When he finally spots the protagonist, he threatens to shoot. But his reflexes are slow, and Fred pushes his hand up, saving the girl. With fists clenched, he prepares to punch. The blow is so powerful it knocks the bald guy to the ground. It happens so fast he can't react. Diana shouts for Federico to be careful as they are coming from behind. In a confident pose, he tells the girl not to worry. He's used to fighting tigers and lions. Holding these weaklings, he says defeating them is nothing. Finally, he lands a precise blow to their chins, sending them flying. The remaining henchman is terrified. The leader prepares to flee, as he's only brave with backup. Trying to open the door, he realizes it's locked. There stands Fred, key in hand, always one step ahead. The guy starts apologizing, scared to death. In a pathetic scene, he even kneels, saying his family has money and can compensate him. To make it worse, he begs for forgiveness. Like any ordinary person, our protagonist is tempted to extort money from the villain, but won't do it because he learned to be honest. This scene is interrupted by someone knocking at the door. He kicks the shameless guy out of the way. Opening the door, he sees powerful people. A man in an elegant suit with several bodyguards asks if he is Frederico from the mountains. Stammering a bit, curious, he confirms it's him. After removing his gloves, the man introduces himself, thanking him for saving his father on the train. Our protagonist doesn't recognize him, making the man a bit awkward. The mafia villain in the back is confused about why the young heir of the Yu family is talking to Fred. The shameless mobster tries to interrupt the conversation, but is quickly shut down. He knows he's facing the second heir of the Yu family. The rich man asks if our heir hero is busy. He even offers to deal with the unpleasant mobster. The villain thinks he's doomed. Our hero remembers this young man, is from Grandpa Yu's family. He extends his hand to greet him and asks if the elder is better. They greet each other. The young man compliments our hero, saying his father is doing well. The mobster, still trembling, realizes our hero is brave, having even saved Mr. Yu. Security guards call the second young master. They present our hero with a briefcase full of money as a token of gratitude. There is also an extremely expensive phone, which piques Diana's curiosity. She realizes Fred is important, but she doesn't understand why he was so happy about getting 6 months of free rent. She thinks he did it to please her, and that he's actually rich. She starts to believe he's in love with her. This makes the girl a bit shy. However, our hero can't accept such an expensive gift. He remembers his training with one of his mentors, who taught him not to accept easy money or touch a woman without her consent. Easy money is something everyone wants. His mentor starts hitting him to make him understand he shouldn't give in to temptation. He complains that she's being aggressive. The poor mentor asks if she went too hard, but it's all for his own good, and he shouldn't give in under any circumstances. He learned his lesson, and back in the present, he refuses the money. The second son knew the young man would refuse the gift, as his niece Alice had warned him. We go back a few hours to the Yu family mansion. Alice says the boy has no interest in their family. Her uncle suggests it's because the boy might not know who they are. He wants to return the favor and give the boy a gift. Alice wants her uncle to also give the boy a gift from her. A bit embarrassed, she hands him a small box, saying if he won't accept the money, maybe he'll accept her gift. Back in the present, the man says he won't force the boy to accept. He asks the security guards to take the briefcase away. The mobster is incredulous that the young man refused such a large amount of money. After clapping his hands, another guard brings Alice's gift. Our hero says he doesn't need any gifts, but the man says it's a gift from Alice. Our shameless hero blushes at the thought of that girl. Diana's radar goes off because she heard a woman's name. It's a small box, and our hero wonders what's inside. He says if it's not too expensive, he can keep it. When he opens it, he gasps in surprise. Everyone is curious, as he wasn't even surprised by the money. The gift is a coupon for 3 free burgers. There's also another item in the box. It's a note with a phone. Alice handwrote the note saying the phone is old but has internet, and if he doesn't want it, he can throw it away. Alice's uncle doesn't understand why the boy would accept an old phone when he refused a new one earlier. With a smile, Frederico says he'll accept these 2 gifts. The second son is confused. Our hero gives a thumbs up and asks to thank Alice, saying he liked the gifts. The man is bewildered and thinks our hero values friendships over material goods. Turning to the mobster, he realizes our hero is dealing with bandits. He asks Mr. Fred if he wants him to deal with this trash. Our hero looks at the idiot and sees him trembling with fear. The guy starts thinking he's doomed. His henchmen pretend to be dead to avoid consequences. Angrily, the guy kneels, begging for forgiveness. It's very embarrassing, and everyone is speechless. Our hero says he doesn't need this man's help. After thanking them, they say it was great meeting him. As he leaves, the young man realizes Frederico isn't just an ordinary doctor. This guy has various martial skills, defeating the mobsters alone. While drying his hand, he mentions his father said this guy was incredible. He needs to recruit Fred before his older brother, Alice's father, does. There's probably a family feud going on. The mobsters kneel before Fred, thanking him for everything. Diana is captivated by our hero, finding it unbelievable. Our protagonist asks if the man who just left is really that powerful. The mobster says he's only the second son of the Yu family. In the underworld, he's known as the Elegant Demon. He does all the family's dirty work, and if handed over to him, the mobster wouldn't be alive. Our hero is surprised by his power. Now that he saved the mobsters' lives, Frederico has a request. The mobster says he'll grant any wish our hero has. The first request is to leave Diana in her bar alone. The guy swears not to interfere with the girl's life or let anything bad happen to her. Secondly, our protagonist wants information about famous women in the city. The guy is surprised, because Fred said it in front of his girlfriend. Fred wants to meet famous young women between 21 and 25, and they must be beautiful. Nervously, the guys say they'll carry out this mission. Frederico tells them to leave. The guys sneak out, grateful for another day of life. Once outside, they start sweating, realizing they almost got beaten up. One of the henchmen helps the boss up and asks if they'll really obey. The guy gets angry, saying even the second son of the Yu family treats Fred with humility and respect. He says this kid will become powerful and they'll reap the benefits. His family will no longer be just fish market bosses, but will rule the entire district. The scene shifts back to Fred, who's cleaning up the mess. Diana's worried because our hero doesn't seem interested in older women and she's already 26. Meanwhile, he's thinking about finding the seventh sister. He has information from the Grand Master that the seventh sister is only slightly older. She should be around 25, as he is 20. Diana thinks he's out of her league, being influential and powerful. She wishes he were her boyfriend, but feels it's a distant dream. If she could date him, she wouldn't have to fear others anymore. She doesn't want to remain a helpless victim. Later, he comes out of the shower and tells Diana it's her turn. The girl is excited and says she's going. He wonders if the mobster got any information. There's a text message from the guy, and our hero struggles with the phone. When Diana closes the door, he gets a bit tense. He hasn't fully realized he's living with a girl. His cheeks flush, and he starts thinking other thoughts. But he's an upright man and can't lead a debauched life. 10 minutes pass, and he hears Diana calling his name. He wonders if he should respond, knowing she's trying to seduce him. She shouts from inside, telling him to open the door. He can't stop thinking about her, as she's very beautiful. With trembling hands, he says he'll check what's happening. Opening the door, there she stands. The girl holds a bottle, her cheeks flushed. This leaves him deeply smitten, and he even gasps. She asks if she's too old for him. He says no, and besides, she's very pretty. Diana had a few drinks and was worried about what our hero said earlier, mentioning she'll be 26 next year. He didn't realize that this hurt her, and this explains there's a reason he's looking for these girls. At that moment, she starts feeling dizzy. The bottle falls to the floor. Like a true hero, he catches her to keep her from falling, facing each other. The scene is incredibly romantic, leaving Diana blushing. She asks if he really thinks she's pretty. He says she's beautiful and apologizes if his comment hurt her. He keeps saying he should act respectfully and not be smitten, but she smells so good. Then the girl asks if he could be her boyfriend. At that moment, she drops the towel, creating an awkward scene for Fred. His face turns red and he gasps. Quickly, he rushes to grab the towel. The girl holds his hands. She says he can relax because she did it on purpose. He knows she drank wine and says he can't do anything. But Diana takes a deep breath and says she's fully conscious. The boy is very tempted to continue, but his training prevents him. He's in the prime of his youth, making it hard to control his instincts. He remembers a training session with his master where he found an injured piglet. The master asked if Fred wanted to save it. The boy says yes and will use his medical skills. The master encourages him to proceed. Fred responds that he must always act with compassion, and as that's a doctor's duty. The old man with a wise look says he should go ahead since it's his choice. Moments later, we see the boy couldn't save the piglet's life, which was traumatic. The piglet died before his eyes. The master says he must face the consequences since he made a choice. The boy cried a lot for not saving the animal. His master pats his head, saying he did the right thing and tried his best. He also said that in the future he'll face many tough choices but must confront the consequences. The boy remembered these lessons. When about to do something he might regret, he meditates on them. He steps back because Diana had some wine, and it wouldn't be right to continue. He holds the towel, while Diana waits for his next move. He dresses her again, leaving her surprised. He says he must always respect women and won't do something he'd regret. Besides, she was very kind to him, giving him 6 months of free rent. This surprises her, as she didn't expect him to be so pure-hearted. Her eyes fill with tears. She hugs our hero, crying loudly. Her cry is so loud it can be heard outside the apartment. As she sleeps, our hero stays by her side, feeling their friendship has grown stronger. His phone rings and he's surprised by the notification. It's a late-night call from Alice. He answers while closing Diana's bedroom door. Fred doesn't know how she got his number, but is glad she did. Alice asks why he didn't message her, as she was anxiously waiting. He says modern phones confuse him, and he doesn't know how to use them. She laughs, saying that he'll learn soon, and sets up lunch with him. Talking about food gets him excited, and he agrees. The girl, smitten, lies in bed and says she'll pick him up at the right time tomorrow, and so he hangs up the phone. The girl starts thinking about her grandfather's plans to bring her second uncle closer to the boy. She even thinks her grandfather, now healthy, wants to regain family power from her father. The Yu family is very complicated, and the girl wonders what's really happening. Late at night, our hero is on his phone. The mobster had obtained several photos of beautiful women. He comments that he didn't expect the guy to get so many contacts. However, none of them seem to be the 7th Marshal's sister. He then wonders why Alice wants to get closer to him. Though he grew up in the mountains, he's not naive, and knows people are interested in his skills. He thinks his life has become complicated since leaving the mountains. He sees a photo of an attractive blue-haired woman, but when he swipes, he's surprised by another photo. She seems to be the 7th Marshal's sister. We see her entering a luxury car, resembling the vision he had. Plus, she wears a pendant that matches the amulet from his master's. He celebrates having found the 7th sister. However, he couldn't see her face clearly, making it difficult. He calls the mobster to ask where the photo was taken. The mobster's playing a game in a bar. He says he'll check the photo to see who the red-haired woman is. One of his companions asks what he's doing. While he yells at the woman, our hero is bored on the other end. He checks all the photos and says he doesn't know where that photo was taken. Fred asks if he's lying. The guy, embarrassed, says it's not a lie. He genuinely doesn't know. Before hanging up, he says he'll find out more about the woman. Now that he knows more about the 7th sister, he's anxious. He tosses the phone on the bed, feeling like he's back to square one. He lies down, eager to find the 7th sister. He remembers he has a date with Alice tomorrow, and she might recognize the place in the photo. With her influence, she can help find the 7th sister. The next day, he wakes up and prepares breakfast. Alice wakes up to a delicious smell. She gets up to check and sees our hero cooking. He says he made a nutritious broth to aid her recovery. Diana mentions he's a great cook, and whoever marries him will be lucky. He says he's not a good cook and only knows the basics. Someone honks outside, and Diana gets curious. Our hero looks out the window and sees it's Alice. She's in a luxury car, which startles him as it's quite early. Diana asks who it is, and he hesitates to answer. Downstairs, Alice shouts for our hero, saying they have a date. He quickly gulps down the soup, not wanting to make Diana jealous. He rushes out, telling Diana he'll be back soon. Poor Diana feels sad for not getting to spend time with him. Looking at the soup, she says they are not from the same world. Downstairs, Alice says she'll give him a city tour before lunch. She says the city is huge, and he'll enjoy seeing some places. They speed off through the city. So this is normal for her, but for Fred, who grew up in the mountains, it's exhilarating. She says he lives too far away. He responds that his masters chose the location and it is comfortable. She offers him to stay with her, as her house is big and she won't charge rent. He declines, feeling it could be another problem. He doesn't like the feeling, as she's intelligent and seems to have a plan for him. He even says free things are often the most expensive, and he doesn't trust her proposal much. However, she seems pure-hearted and just wants to enjoy the day and have fun with him. They speed off. They stop at a shopping mall. She elegantly exits the car and hands the keys to the valet. Meanwhile, our hero is stuck inside, unable to open the door. She shows him how to open it. She mentions many people struggle with her car doors. He feels a bit embarrassed and thanks her, saying he had almost jumped over the car. She says the day will be fun, and she'll buy him new clothes. She grabs his arm and drags him along. She asks what brands he likes, leaving him clueless. He doesn't know any brands. To him, clothes are all the same. Fred doesn't care much for clothes and tries to tell her, but she insists he try some on. Looking at our hero's face, she wonders what style suits him best. She grabs his hand and drags him again, determined to find him a nice outfit. He's struck by how beautiful she is, his heart racing. They pass by several stores. None seem to catch his eye. She starts thinking about what style would suit him. Then she has a brilliant idea. He tries on a casual outfit and looks like a model. Finally, after trying many outfits, he likes this one. The saleswoman seems friendly, but finds this irritating, thinking he can't afford it. She comments that if it were that girl, she'd be more eager to help. Fred asks about the price. The saleswoman says it's $7,700 with a 12% discount for members. She's annoyed, thinking he won't buy it because it's expensive. He feels a bit embarrassed. $7,000 is a lot. He mentions that in the mountains they wouldn't spend that much on food in the year, but Alice quickly pulls out her phone ready to pay. The saleswoman feels slighted, as Alice treats the amount casually. She pays in full, revealing she's a millionaire. She asks the saleswoman to wrap up the clothes. Our hero is curious as she just scanned and paid. She explains that's how things work and she'll teach him later. Plus, she added money to his phone account. He tries to find his balance. When he sees $10,000, he's shocked. He exclaims, asking if it's really $10,000, drawing curious looks. She confirms, and he insists he doesn't need that much. Alice paid for the clothes with her own money and added more for him to use during the day. He says he can't accept that amount and tries to return it. She responds that it's her way of showing gratitude. She explains that on that day, he warned her to stay away from people in green, saving her life. She witnessed an accident. She didn't expect that just changing Ayara's clothes would be enough to save her life. She thought he wasn't serious, but what happened made her believe. A few days earlier, when she was with her friend Iara, they'd witnessed an accident. She didn't fully understand what happened, but only had minor scratches. A man with sunglasses appeared. He pointed a gun at the girls. She thought it was the end. They screamed in fear. On a phone call, someone asked if the woman was wearing black. Someone on the call mentioned a woman in a green dress, and the criminal realized that he had the wrong person. And so, he gets into the car and drives away. By changing clothes, the criminal got confused, and they felt relieved. Ayara hugged her best friend tightly, saying that thanks to Alice, she was still alive. At that moment, Alice realized Fred was right, and his advice had saved them. Therefore, she wanted to gift him that amount because her life was saved by our hero. He asks if she wants more insights to understand that criminal. She says yes, wishing to uncover who was behind it all. Fred warns he will try and begins his meditation. He learned from his masters in the mountains not to use his powers trivially, but since this involves someone's safety, he needed to use his abilities. Alice is surprised to see the Chinese techniques. After meditating a bit, he discovered everything, and she becomes curious. He says this matter doesn't directly involve her, and interfering could make things worse. She asks if there's no way to resolve this and is worried about Ayara. He feels sorry, as the only thing he could sense for now is the energy flow. Alice sighs deeply, knowing that meddling too much could bring trouble to her. She holds our hero's arm tightly. She notes it's almost time for them to eat, and they head out. In his mind, he thinks that even though Alice is friends with Ayara, there's another side to that redhead that the girl doesn't know. The art of foresight couldn't be used indiscriminately, as it could lead to devastating consequences. They arrive at a restaurant where a woman in traditional attire welcomes them. He is shocked as it seems very expensive. The girl tells him not to worry as she will pay, and he should enjoy and eat plenty. With a smile, he agrees to eat a lot. The place is cozy, and Alice orders every dish on the menu. The waitress says the portions are large, and they might not finish them. He confidently says he can eat all the restaurant's food. He mentions he once ate a whole wild boar from the mountains alone. Alice confirms with the waitress to bring one of each dish, saying that they will eat it all. Our hero comments that she's very generous and also rich. The girl is smitten because he called her generous. He says just by looking at her, he imagines she has around 2 million. This makes the girl giggle, as she has much more than that. 2 million is nothing to her. However, she simply says that her family has more money than he can imagine. She also promised to fulfill 3 wishes for him, no matter what he asks. He thanks her, saying he will make his wishes wisely. The girl hopes he will wish to be with her, as that would be her greatest wish fulfilled. She's very interested in learning more about our hero, finding him fascinating. At that moment, a woman with purple hair, accompanied by a man, passes by the door. She notices Alice and turns back to check if it's really her. The woman becomes angry, as Alice is intended to marry her third brother. She belongs to the Wang family, as Grandpa Yu mentioned on the train. The woman sees this as an affront to her family and comments to her companion. She finds it unacceptable that the Yu family is disrespecting the Wang family by having Alice with another man, and she decides to confront them. The arrogant woman storms in, kicking the door open, looking for Alice. Alice turns, startled, and our hero becomes curious. The loud mouth declares Alice is to marry her third brother and shouldn't be out with other men. Alice grows worried, recognizing Xian, heir to the Wang family, a very influential figure. The Wang family controls many industries essential to the Yu family, so Alice shouldn't provoke them. She's only out with Fred today and doesn't want him involved in these disputes. Alice insists they're just friends, with no romantic interest. Our hero notices his friend is in trouble, but Xian won't accept Alice being out with any friend, calling it disrespectful. She threatens to end Alice's friendship with Fred, calling him a wimp. Fred, feeling strong, whispers to Alice, offering to remove Xian if she's bothering them. Alice, though scared, grows irritated by Xian's persistence. Xian becomes angrier when Alice refuses to dismiss her friend. To end the argument, Alice reveals she hasn't accepted Xian's brother's marriage proposal. Someone stands up, asking if the Wang family still practice arranged marriages like in feudal times. Xian, furious, asks if Alice dares to defy her family. Turning to her companion, she orders him to deal with Fred. The man cracks his knuckles, boasting he'll crush Fred with one hand. He lunges at Fred, trying to grab his clothes. With a simple tap, Fred disarms him, leaving the man trembling. The man asks what Fred did, as he didn't see it coming. Fred says he merely retaliated. The man thinks he can overpower Fred and attacks again. Fred grabs his wrist and emits energy waves, paralyzing him. The man starts shaking in fear. Fred realizes the man is physically strong but spiritually weak. The man breaks free and tries to punch Fred. With just his palm, Fred sends him flying. The man crashes to the ground like a sack of potatoes. Fred explains to Xian about spiritual deficiency, using a metaphor. He says the man's cannon is rusty, unable to fire cannonballs. Xian is shocked, as her boyfriend has been struggling lately. The man claims he's just tired, but Fred reveals he sensed recent activity. Xian denies involvement and, trusting Fred, checks her boyfriend's phone. The boyfriend runs away, refusing to hand it over, clearly hiding something. Xian chases after him, vowing to eliminate him. Fred remains humble, denying any special abilities. Amidst the chaos, a waitress announces their food is ready. Hungry Alice and Fred celebrate, eager to enjoy the delicious meal. A feast of every dish in the restaurant is served, leaving our hero's mouth watering. Alice thanks Fred for his help, but assures him he didn't need to get involved. His master taught him to always help friends in need. This leaves Alice embarrassed, realizing she's special to him. He continues eating the pork, praising its flavor. Let me explain, it's seasoned with fish powder. This excites him, as he never imagined seasoning meat with another meat. Alice wants to learn more about Chinese medicine and asks how he knows so much. He says it's not that hard. A bit embarrassed, she asks him to teach her. Our hero is excited to have an apprentice and says it will take 10 years to reach his level. She finds this too long and starts crying, especially since he said it was easy. Fred explains that mastering martial arts takes time and effort, but people today are impatient. She feels scolded and slightly embarrassed, asks him not to regret teaching her. He actually wants to ask a favor, having earned 3 wishes from her. She hopes it's something intimate and is excited to help, but what he really wants is to know where the photo was taken. Alice examines the photo and recognizes the HL company's main building. Fred asks if she knows the location, and she confirms, as every woman knows that building. He asks if she knows the woman in the photo. Of course she does, and asks why he's looking for her. Our protagonist explains she's his 7th older sister. This shocks Alice, as the famous CEO of HSL is his older sister. He scratches his head, asking if this woman's important. He then asks Alice to take him to her. Alice has never contacted this woman, but her family has business with the company. They head to the famous building. On the way, our hero asks about his sister. Alice asks if he shouldn't know more about her being his sister, but our hero explains she left the mountain when he was very young, so he doesn't know her well. Alice reflects on the extraordinary mountain where Fred grew up. She starts telling him about this woman named Zhang, who made a name for herself in the city 2 years ago. As soon as she joined the company, she revolutionized the products and quickly rose to CEO. Alice shares this enthusiastically, as the company is one of the city's top 20. He'll be impressed, as his 7th sister is truly remarkable. Alice adds that the most surprising part is that Zhang is only 23. At 21, Alice says Zhang is her biggest idol. She dreams of being like her in a few years, powerful and intelligent. Our hero believes Alice can achieve this, as she's also very smart. Alice blushes slightly, saying she's lucky to be born into the Yu family. As they approach the building, she appreciates that our hero doesn't pry for family information. They arrive at the HSL company headquarters. He eagerly heads to the door, saying he'll go in and talk to his sister. He's captivated by the grand building and proud of his sister, but Alice asks him to wait, as unauthorized persons can't enter. Security asks for his ID. He looks at another man's ID and tells security he doesn't have that card. Security says he can't enter, as it's not visiting hours. Fred says he's Jiang's younger brother and I want to speak with her. When they hear the CEO's name, they find it strange. They start laughing, saying many people show up claiming the same thing. He thumps his chest, asking if the guards don't believe him. The guards mock him and tell him to leave, as he's causing a disturbance. One of the security leaders decides to inform Mr. Zhang. The man answers and asks the mustached man what's happening at the entrance. We see this Mr. Zhang is important and learns a boy is looking for Zhang. The stern man orders the security leader to get rid of the boy. He also says to always eliminate anyone seeking the CEO. The mustached man hangs up, saying he'll handle it now. He's been pulling strings for Zhang, who is the deputy director, aiming for benefits. We learn this man is in love with Zhang and won't let anyone near her. He even has a photo of her kissing it, saying she belongs to him. He returns to our hero and says he'll wait outside for his sister. A guard says he can't wait at the building's door. The mustache man starts making a scene, saying our protagonist is tarnishing the company's reputation. The other guards are startled, wondering why the mustache man is so nervous. He whispers to them that they can't let the boy stay. A guard asks if he's a mad dog, saying they can't kick him off the street. As he finishes speaking, the nervous old man slaps our hero. Fred's cheek turns red from the slap. The old man cracks his knuckles, saying he'll finish off our protagonist. Alice starts screaming for them to stop fighting. Federico asks Alice if she saw who started the fight. In a chilling way, he says they awaken the monster. Feeling his fury rising, she senses he's not joking around. With impressive speed, he appears before the mustached man, grabbing his clothes. He says he's full of accumulated rage, and even as a doctor, he's powerful. The man starts trembling and shouts for the other guards to finish off the boy. Seeing the chaotic fight, the guards start to fear. The mustached man orders them to restrain Fred, but he's thrown to the ground with great force. He prepares another attack, saying they started the trouble. Fred hits the shameless man. His assistants rush to stop our hero, but we all know Fred is very brave. This leaves Alice a bit scared. He seems like a wild monster that not even dozens of guards can stop. After a few moments, he defeats all the guards. Fred even asks them to get up and continue the fight, but they say their salary is too low to endure this and pretend to be unconscious. At that moment, a car arrives. It's Chenche, and she asks what happened. The mustached man explains a boy beat them up and tells her to call the police. She tries to understand and can't believe one man did this. In a gloomy way, he asks if she also works at the company. I confess, it seems our protagonist might have become a villain. He's very agitated. The assistants scream in fear. She says this young man is terrifying and I will call the police. But another woman exits the car. It's Miss Jiang, and her assistant says one boy defeated all the other guards. We see this woman is very beautiful, and it was worth waiting to meet the first sister. The woman asks if this boy really caused all the commotion. The assistant confirms, saying the blue-haired boy did it. At that moment, Alice is thrilled, as she saw her biggest idol. Our hero approaches and asks if she is his seventh sister. The woman looks him up and down, assessing the situation. The atmosphere is tense, and she doesn't respond. Her assistant wonders what's happening. Jiang asks if he has proof she's his older sister. The assistant is confused. Federico reaches into his pocket for his amulet. He realizes it's gone and is shocked. He sees his pocket is torn and likely lost it in the chaos. The redhead says she'll call the police if he can't prove he's her younger brother. He feels doomed, as his older sister thinks he's a delinquent. Alice says the amulet is in the car and throws it to him. He catches the amulet midair, relieved. He shows it to his seventh sister, confirming they're from the same sect. Seeing the amulet, she's convinced he's her little brother. The assistant whispers, asking if they should call the police. Jiang says no, she has important matters to discuss with him in her office. This leaves Assistant Chenche startled, as Jiang never takes anyone there. She wonders if he's really her boss's brother. Jiang orders Federico to follow her. The assistant is unsure what to do with security. Jiang orders her to send them all away. They hear this and complain at not wanting to work there anymore. Alice watches from afar, finding Jiang even more impressive. She believes more in the mountain sect Fred came from. She even imagines a fanfic where Jiang takes care of her younger brother. The security chief informs Jiang he's been fired and needs help for revenge. Jiang, on the other line, starts shouting, getting nervous. He discovers Jiang is taking another man to her private office. This drives him mad, as he's obsessed with her. Like a child losing in a game, he throws his phone. He can't accept the love of his life being with another man in her office. Entering the office, Federico finds it luxurious. It's more like a 5-star hotel. Jiang says they can talk safely there about anything. She assures him the entire floor belongs to her, and no one will disturb them. Our hero is captivated, feeling like he's in a garden. His older sister offers him coffee, asking if he wants sugar. Never having tried coffee, he says no sugar. Jiang is curious about his reaction to the drink. He receives the cup and thanks her. Before drinking, he smells it and finds it pleasant, but upon tasting, he finds it bitter and regrets not adding sugar. She leans in close, asking about his mountain training. He says he trained hard with the 7 masters and is happy. This makes her glad. Suddenly, she pulls up his sleeve to check something. He blushes, asking what she's doing. She says she needs to confirm one more thing to be sure he's her little brother. She remembers him as a baby, left at the sect's door. He cried a lot and had 2 birthmarks on his right arm. Pulling up his sleeve, she sees the same birthmark. Her eyes fill with tears, overcome with emotion. She hugs her little brother, saying she missed him greatly. Jiang says she waited for him all this time, leaving Fred a bit confused. It's strange the masters hid her presence for so long. Even using his power, he couldn't find information about her. Jiang then asks if our hero really knew nothing. He doesn't understand, so she asks him to use his power on her pulse and check for himself. Fred imagines she might have a spiritual deficiency. He sits down to examine his sister's health. After some time, he asks if the masters knew about her condition. She confirms they did, but couldn't cure her extreme cold constitution. Our hero remembers his master teaching about celestial deficiencies and realizes he studied this ailment to cure his sister. She asks if he also finds it complicated to resolve. Fred explains that in traditional Chinese medicine, there are two types of ailments: celestial and terrestrial deficiencies. Both are difficult to cure, and she mentions trying various remedies without success. He admits the treatments are complex, but suggests a way to resolve it. She's curious, but he shows hesitation in proposing the cure and ends up asking if she's married. She says she isn't, as she hasn't found anyone suitable for dual cultivation. That's how they refer to it in this story, but you can imagine what dual cultivation means. Our protagonist blushes and says he knows someone with the perfect yang constitution for her dual cultivation. She's thrilled, as this could cure her ailment. To ease things a bit, Fred explains that the cultivation doesn't need to be extreme and can just be an energy exchange, if you catch my drift. This makes Jiang a bit embarrassed, and she asks if a simple kiss would suffice. He confirms and says they need to do it as soon as possible to prevent her condition from worsening. Fred tries to avert his gaze, as the topic's quite embarrassing. His sister says they need to find the person he mentioned as soon as possible. He explains she needs to perform this cultivation twice a day for 6 months to cure her ailment, and she agrees. He ends up spilling his coffee. She asks why he did that, and he says it's nothing. Just thought she might find another way to solve the problem. Since she wants to resolve it faster, they could do the intense cultivation, which might work better. Jiang says her masters told her she'd only survive until 27 due to her ailment, so she's in a hurry. Our hero knows this is true, as most people with this condition pass away young. She slams her hand on the table and says she'll organize a search for someone with young energy. She thanks him for sharing his knowledge and promises to give him what the masters asked her to keep for him once she's better. Our protagonist says that's not important now. They should focus on her health. He asks if she's ready for the cultivation, and she says she has no choice. His sister hadn't paid attention when he mentioned he already knew someone with yang energy. When he mentions it again, she's excited and offers him a great reward. However, he doesn't mention it's actually a woman and is afraid she'll refuse. But when she hears it's a woman, his sister is relieved, as she'll maintain her chastity. He's relieved she accepted it well and says she's very proper. Jiang says she's saving herself for her future husband. She won't use her body for benefits and has preserved herself. This makes Fred admire his older sisters even more. They exchange contact information, and our hero finds her status a bit strange. Still, he accepts the friend request. Before leaving, he says he'll update his sister later after sorting things out with his friend. As he's about to leave, she asks if he's not curious why the masters wanted him to meet her. He thought it was just to cure his sister, but she says there's more. He has an important mission from the sect of 7 saints. She explains he must continue the sect's martial legacy. He's confused, asking what this mission entails. She explains the sect of 7 saints is a union of 7 major martial sects in China. He's skeptical, as his mountain sect seemed like an abandoned village, more like an internet tale. Still, he won't disrespect his master's wishes and accepts the mission. She explains he must listen carefully to the instructions and touches the amulet. A portal opens, and she retrieves a letter. It's a message from one of his masters saying only he can complete this mission. He must accept a disciple within 3 months, and once he does, the 7th sister will hand over the supreme treasure of the sect of 7 saints. Our hero is nervous, as he's never had a disciple before. She says this is the first step of the mission, and if he can't find a disciple, he won't be able to establish his own sect. He receives the letter and vows to do his best. She offers him a job at her company. After what happened with her security, he could replace them but would need an interview first. He says if he joins her company, it will cause gossip, which neither wants. Before leaving, he thanks her for her kindness. She watches her little brother go, noting how cautious he is. She's glad he's matured during this time. As his older sister, she knows she can't stand idly by without helping him. She sends him a message, inviting him to dinner at a restaurant and sending 10,000. Receiving such a large amount, he's startled and feels rich. Our hero doesn't like receiving gifts but loves food, so he'll use the money for meals. He decides to go straight to a market to buy ingredients. Leaving the company, he realizes Alice isn't there, and notes it's almost night, indicating he spent a lot of time inside. He sets his apartment address on his GPS to run home, but he hears Alice calling him. She asks why he's in such a hurry and if he didn't expect her to be waiting. He asks if she really waited for him outside. She jokes, saying yes, and that she couldn't have traveled to the future to find him. This makes him blush. She also feels a bit embarrassed, as it's clear she has feelings for him. She apologizes, saying she only waited because she was worried he'd get lost on his way home. He thanks her, calling her a true friend, and invites her to dinner. She accepts without hesitation and asks where they're eating. Excitedly, he names the restaurant from the note she gave him. This makes her a bit disappointed, as it's not a place a man would typically take a woman. Still, she's not picky and agrees to go. They speed off in the car. From above, that shameless guy is watching our hero. It seems they're following our Fred, mentioning he's with the pink-haired girl. He tells his henchmen to follow our hero and not let him escape. They plan to teach Fred a lesson for messing with the Zhang family. You know this villain's gonna get beaten up, no need for many details. It might not be now, but he's gonna get it. He can't believe our protagonist managed to enter Jiang's office. He says if this continues, the boy will even go to her house. He refuses to be left behind and starts destroying everything, saying no one will take his woman. A minute later, they arrive at the restaurant. He's excited, saying he wants to try the fried chicken. Opening the door, they're greeted by a delicious smell. we see someone following them. It's that shameless bigot with his henchmen. The guy even pulls a knife from his pocket, saying this time they won't lose to our hero. Not only will this guy get beaten, but he'll also be humiliated. These villains never stop embarrassing themselves.